Welcome to the Berks Homes Podcast, the business of building homes. I'm Katie. I'm here with my brother Ben, and today we are rounding out our core values podcast series of helpful, humble, driven, and today we are doing aware, what it means to be aware at Berks Homes.
Why don't you lay out what you were saying 5 minutes ago? Because I thought that was really good, how you said it,
Great,
how you
thank
explained
you.
it. Yeah.
I was just looking at our four and looking at the explanations again. So let me run through that real quick before we start. So aware, what it means, be able to read the room, how to express it, ask good questions and stay engaged. And the result is we anticipate the impact of our actions. As I was looking at this, I was kind of thinking, okay, this is interesting. Aware is kind of the first thing that you do before you decide how to act on the other core values. So it's the precursor to anything else because it's sitting back and thinking. It's really just making an assessment on a situation, and then what I do next is the part that you really have to think through. So is this a time for me to be helpful? Is this a time for me to be humble and support other people? Be curious. Is it time for me to ask more questions so I get the information I need to think through the next steps? Is it time for me to just step up and drive? That's kind of where I was landing with it, going, you have to do aware first before you can act on anything else. And that's probably why it was a little difficult for us to talk about it, going, okay, well, it's not the same as the other ones.
Is it theoretical in a way?
Yeah.
It's
internal. It's all internal. It's all in your head. It's all thought and it's planning and all of that. The others are really just doing.
Yeah.
Once you have made the assessment.
Do you know how hard it is for me not to say yeah while you talk?
Well,
I was trying to listen very well.
You do a great job with it.
Be very patient.
Because I'm the
used
entire
to that.
time say yeah.
I'm used to it. And then I was like, you know what? I was listening to a podcast and I was like, the other host never interrupts. And I'm like, I'm the worst interrupter.
Oh.
Very hard.
We are equally interrupting.
You had that. You got me on that, ask more questions thing. Yeah. And listening. And I listen, but I just got that thought.
It's called active listening.
Yes. That's what I thought.
Yes.
So anyway, that was really hard. You got through that whole thing and I was just nodding my head. Listening. Yes.
It kind of felt awkward, I'm not going to lie.
I know. And then I thought to myself, does she think I'm not paying attention?
I did.
Okay. So I was, and I'm just going to interrupt. So
that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
Makes
Brandon.
you feel better.
You can edit it out like you do every time. So sorry.
Well, so awareness to me is so critical in tying these all together because, again, it's the anticipation of what's to come. So we've in the past talked a little bit about curating your behavior to the person that you're interacting with. You are, all the things with driven, results-oriented. In our world, the SDI, you're red.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not going to come to you with something that, I need quickly and talk only exclusively about the details or how it affects people. That's not going to get the answer out of you quickly.
Right.
I'm probably going to say if it's going to be a quick interaction, I need to talk about the result
first.
Yeah. But that's you.
Yes.
Right? So there's many people who they don't even hear all that's noise. All they heard was that some person's going to be affected. And they're, that's all they can fixate on.
Right.
And so if that's the type of person that they are, I'm going to make sure I highlight the people involved more than the results. So that's awareness to me.
You're saying being aware is understanding your audience.
Yes.
Knowing who you're talking to and having that in the forefront of your mind before you even start talking to them.
Yeah.
So that that's anticipating
The result.
the result of your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can completely mess up someone's day.
Right.
By not taking into consideration who they are before you start speaking to them.
Correct.
It happens all the time. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to prevent if you just take that beat and go, okay, how does this person accept communication?
Information.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're not even talking about sensitive people. It's just all of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of us. We all have a filter naturally the way we're wired to listen to things a certain way and care about a third of the information.
Yeah, well, it's your own unconscious bias.
Right.
It's like however your worldview is framed, that's what you hear.
Right.
You know?
And then for people like me, it just depends on my mood. You know?
That is a very hub thing to say.
I'm a hub.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one piece of awareness. Another piece of awareness is it's kind of like when you say somebody has no tact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it's just like time and place awareness, right? That's part of it. So it's like on the people side, empathy with whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, you wouldn't talk to a salesperson who just had lost 2 sales that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 cancellations. That's like really, really hard on a sales rep because they sold somebody something and then they canceled for whatever reason. So that Monday, you wouldn't call them and start talking about how we need to get our cancellation rate down.
Right, just kick them when they're down.
That's like worst case example, but you might, on the other hand, call them about some sort of positive thing that totally reinforces that it's okay that we got some cancellations.
Exactly.
So awareness is exactly that to me. It's like it has a lot to do with people, but I think one thing that's overlooked is awareness in the business stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So the timing of our business cycle and how things work. I tie awareness to planning as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say
because we talk
next.
about anticipating actions and stuff, but awareness is being thoughtful in looking ahead and saying, if I don't accomplish this by this date, it's going to be a problem.
It's huge in our business because of the cycle time, how long everything takes.
Right.
That's critical when it comes to planning for land, new communities, even settlements. Like it all tracks to just paying attention to the execution of the task that's going to impact in a few months, in a few years, depending on what it is.
Right.
But that's, again, having the awareness to know that you've got to stay on top of it.
Right.
You know, that's perfectly aligns with planning. I mean, that's, again, huge to what we do. It's also, when you were talking about people and planning, it also impacts workload.
Yeah, sure.
So much. So as a leader or even someone who's just starting in the company, it goes both ways. Being able to have the communication with each other about whether they can handle something, the team or a person, understanding what it would do to pile something else onto someone.
Right.
Is it going to take away from their productivity in another place? Is it actually a priority? Is it not? All of that is huge when it comes to awareness.
It might not be the time.
Right.
To do X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think is the opposite of awareness? If you're trying to back into why this is so important, what are some surefire ways to say that's not aware?
We talked a little bit about it last week with driven.
Yeah.
You know, they're in direct opposition of each other sometimes because you're just trying to get stuff done and you don't care about the priority, you don't care about the timing, you don't care about the workload, you're just trying to get it done sometimes.
I was thinking of it as like a driver in a car and like tunnel vision. And you're just like, you literally can't see left or right and you're just going to the light. Yeah. And you're just, there's no room for tunnel vision with awareness. You can't have both.
Yeah.
Right? You're just, and if you're not being aware, you're not like being a defensive driver. You're not thinking ahead. You're not, making
You're using
sure,
all your mirrors.
slow down, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good kind of example. You can't have tunnel vision.
Right.
Because there's no room for selfishness. It manifests itself kind of like as a selfish trait when you're just so laser focused on one goal and everything just doesn't matter
Exactly.
besides that goal.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it would be nice to be that simple, but it's typically not the case.
Unfortunately.
It would. Yeah.
What do you think? Is there anything else that is kind of the opposite?
Well, I think that's why these four just kind of like go hand in hand and layer on top of each other is, selfishness is the opposite of awareness. I think promoting others' ideas is aware. So it's like the opposite of selfishness. I think there's a lot of examples with elevating the team around you, humility, that kind of thing. But I think the key one that is an interesting combination is being driven and aware.
Yes.
So
that's magic.
Yeah.
If you can unlock both.
So you're literally getting A to Z as fast as you can and avoiding all the cops, and then the lights, and you're taking the fastest route on the GPS, not getting pulled over, and you're getting it done.
And not hurting anyone.
Yeah. Safely.
Safely and quickly.
Under the speed limit, barely,
Yeah.
But those two, I'm trying to think.
That's a really good way to describe it.
How we could articulate. Those two, when unlocked, I think some of us, as we described, you're probably born or, before you're an adult, most likely determined to be humble or not. That's a little bit of something that it's hard to hone that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Same thing with driven a little bit. Helpfulness can always be, something that you grow into.
Well, when I was thinking about the four earlier, helpful to me is seeing the need. Humble to me is listening and supporting.
Yeah.
That's an action associated with it. And then driven is just doing.
Right.
And so you're kind of bent one of those ways, because humble to me is very much the detail-oriented process person. They're not having an ego about anything except the team win or the proper way of doing something or the process and the details and all of that. Helpful. I know, right? Helpful is like people.
Right.
Seeing a need, being, very much aligned with whatever support somebody needs. Driven, again, just going. So these are all things that you're naturally born with, probably one of those more so than the others. But again, awareness is when your brain develops enough to think past yourself on any of those things.
That's really good. Because I know that's something that focus brings me a better level of awareness. Like it's a skill.
Yes.
That you can develop and you can work on. And when you unlock it, it's like at certain levels, it's groundbreaking.
Yes.
You easily can have a bigger breakthrough with increasing your awareness than most skill sets.
Yes, you're exactly right. I think that most important thing to learn if you want to grow and develop in your career, in your family, in anything, in your personal life, if you can really just understand how to move about the world in a way that you're reading the room, you're anticipating your actions, you're thinking that way. It's probably the best skill set that you can learn.
I really like the reading the room thing because I do think that, and I don't know if it's like this anywhere else, but we've never worked anywhere else. I think it's really important to not be canned and like robotic when it comes to meetings.
Like formulaic.
Yeah, where you're just getting literally into the exact same rhythm every week. There's certain pieces that are really important in terms of everything but the human aspect. But awareness can be something like maybe the team had a tough week the week before,
Mm-hmm.
and you just walk into that weekly meeting knowing that they need something different.
Mm-hmm.
And you break the format.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? We got beat up a little bit last week on these things. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about ways to get better. We're going to put the rest of the agenda aside.
Yes.
And we need to just focus on this stuff, not just for getting better results, but for, building us back up a little bit.
Yeah.
You would only do that if you're hyper aware and paying attention.
Yes,
to
that's
the
exactly
needs
right.
of those around you. And again, most of the time when you focus on people, it's self-serving. So the end result, you don't have to sacrifice results.
You will personally get a better outcome if you just do this first.
Yeah.
If you act selfishly, the outcome won't be positive at the end of the day.
Yeah, but there is a self-discipline aspect to it as well, where preparation is really a big piece of awareness.
That's why we've had to work so hard at it.
Yes.
You
yes.
know?
Yeah.
I do really like the ask good questions and stay engaged piece too, because that kind of goes along the lines of what you were just saying in the meetings, is you've got to come up with ways to get that engagement with people sometimes.
Right.
You've got to force yourself a little bit to not just turn your brain off, just go through the motions. You've got to kind of turn on your lock in during a meeting and say, okay, I know this is not boring. I'm not zoning out. I am getting out of this what I'm supposed to. I think we've talked about this before too, going into certain meetings or tasks and things that you've got to get your mindset straight before you go in to say, okay, I am participating. I am doing this because I understand that it's for the greater good or somebody needs something, or, you just kind of walk yourself through that sometimes. That's staying engaged.
Yeah. I always thought this was really important to me, and I'm just actively trying to work on it. I always thought that I had to ask questions to understand for myself.
Interesting.
You don't always have to understand,
Right.
You need to ask questions so the other person gets what they need.
Yes.
But you don't have to understand.
Right.
Because I was like, how am I going to fully download every single problem and be the expert? That's what I thought asking good questions always meant. And it was I always put a lot of pressure on myself. All right, we're talking about an issue. Give me the facts. And I'd be like, all right, so now I'm a soil scientist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, well, actually, it's just to unlock whatever piece they need to make a good, educated decision.
Yeah, good question is the operative phrase here.
Yeah.
The good question is what you get out of the conversation, not you personally, but the collective you.
The collective you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not you.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's really good. That was like psychology.
Yeah, it was like psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't care about soils. Scientists.
Is that the thing that broke you? That made you get to this point?
Just a recent example, sending me all these geotech bulletins and,
pH levels.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to read that.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you need?
What do you need to know? Yeah. Good fill, bad fill. Tell me. Give me a thumbs up or... Yeah.
Right.
But no, I mean, there's so many examples, and I've been involved in this stuff for so long that you do get to the point where you can kind of know what they're talking about without being an expert.
Mm-hmm.
But that next 10% of fully understanding is so hard to obtain.
Yeah.
That I just realized I just need to really basically let them make the decision and ask them kind of if they asked all the right questions. And
yeah.
It was like a big relief in my life.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if you end with, well, how does it impact other people?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that's going to happen? That's pretty much how I end every conversation is by saying, well, okay, tell me what's the worst thing that could happen either way, and then it's like, oh, well,
it's
that's
usually
not so
not
bad.
that scary.
Exactly.
They're all scared and you're like, yeah, that's not that bad.
Yeah, don't worry. Pick either one.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, let it rip. Roll the dice. Yeah, what do I care? No, I think that awareness, that was kind of where I was going. Like, that gave me some deeper understanding into how to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being aware on behalf of others.
Yes.
And what they need,
Mm-hmm.
and then empowering them to make that decision within their own little circle next time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's anticipating the impact of your action.
Right.
Actually teaching people.
Yeah. Right.
How
do you teach people if you're not a good teacher?
Oh, I don't know.
Because there's a lot of us out there that
are
great teachers and not great teachers.
I'm not the person to ask
yeah.
of how to be a great teacher. I think that reps is the only tool in my tool belt when it comes to teaching.
Yeah.
Just going over the same thing in as many ways as I can say it over and over again until we get there.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're looking for in-depth, technical knowledge, probably don't come to us for that. But there's a ton of value in just that gentle push or pointing in the correct direction at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about this? Did you talk to this person? And then always being like, let me know how it goes.
The return to close the loop is something that I really probably just added to my conversation points in the past year or two. Going, can you just let me know what happens? Can you just let me know how it goes?
Preferably the abridged version,
Depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah. The bullet points.
Addie has been holding her fists out, left hand, right hand, every day. And when she wakes up in the morning, happy or sad?
Does she pick sad sometimes?
Never.
Oh, yeah.
No.
She just fakes it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, at least, so she's functioning at a higher level than all of us.
Yes.
It's a choice, people. You can pick happy or sad. I always pick happy, but let's just call it what it is. It's a choice every day.
Hey, that is...
Yeah. Wise words from Addie. Addie the Aware.
That's her new moniker.
So is there anything else that we need to talk about with awareness?
So, okay, basically, in summary, awareness is understanding humans.
Yeah.
It's understanding basically laying out a path for planning. So it's people, planning, and timing is really what we talked about.
People, planning, timing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And then action.
Keep your head up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't just focus on today's work.
Yeah, where you're stepping today. It's more far-reaching than that.
I always, just personally, full disclosure, I have a little bit of a blind spot over a month to a year. Like, I always look out too far, and I never look back.
11-month time span of just a black hole for
you.
Yeah,
yeah, I do. So I'm not, like, great at planning for tomorrow or next week or next month. I'm like thinking that like too far. And so for me, this awareness piece, the biggest upside for me is to come in more prepared for everything, just a little bit. You're not going to be a maniac right away if you go from being ill prepared.
Well, what's really great about all of these, but in particular aware, is that you can incrementally get better at it.
Yeah.
There's, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
If you make improvements by small percentages every day over a long period of time, it's a really big improvement.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this.
Sure.
Okay, pick one thing that we talked about that maybe you hadn't thought through before. Like, think about who you're talking to before you start talking. Think about what happened to somebody before you start talking. Think about what workload somebody has. Pick one of those things and just get good at that one thing. And then add the next one or the next. That's the only way to conquer learning.
Anything. Yeah, that's a really good point. You got to start small. Got to get the win and move on. Who's the shout out?
Oh, a whole team gets a shout out today.
Yeah.
The entire sales team.
Yeah.
And everyone supporting anything that you did to help out to get one of those 50, possibly 50 plus sales that come through this month. I mean, that was awesome. Way to start the year. It is super exciting. They've just been grinding every month to get these sales and come in under the wire every month, and everything is a little ugly and it's a lot of work, and this last week of the month they just crushed it.
Yeah, it really built on last month and like the end of the year. There's always some excitement when you wrap up the year, and you're starting you're turning a fresh page and starting sales. And, January is a hard month.
Yes.
Right? So people don't typically make a lot of big decisions. They're kind of like overwhelmed from the holidays and it's cold outside and they don't want to go anywhere. Yeah. So really to come out with this big number right away is really impressive.
Before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, which the Eagles are in, if you haven't
I had to bring it up.
Yeah. So it was really cool. It was really encouraging. It gets the entire staff excited and enthusiastic about what's next month going to be, and there's nothing better than a good sales month.
Yes,
because
exactly.
Every single person can identify with the enthusiasm because the company will reap the benefits later. The production team will have more work. The land team gets to put a little pressure on themselves to produce more lots.
Yeah, fill the pipeline.
Yeah. Obviously, the sales team can feel good about their accomplishments. So, they deserve that. I don't have I'm not going to make one up. I don't have a challenge.
We did challenge everyone.
What was that?
Get good at aware.
Get good at aware. Yeah. And it is a lifelong pursuit.
It is.
And maybe generally, so figure out one habit that you would like to create. Super basic.
Yeah, and just
super
practice.
Basic. There's a guy, I forget where I saw him, maybe on LinkedIn, and I can't even remember his name. But he did this. I read this thing that he wrote that I thought was really interesting. He said, I started 3 years ago. At night, I would write a list of 2 things. This is basically like energy giving, like what I did that day, generally. And what was great about it and what was not great about it. And an entire thing could fall into one category. I went to the dentist. That was terrible, right? I went and, watched my kid's soccer game. I like it for these reasons. I dislike it. And then he said after like 2 years of literally every day, he was just like, I just created the life I wanted.
Really?
Right. I'll send it to you. And I thought, oh, wow, what a great habit, Yeah. And he was like starting, it was just very basic.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's really great.
So
what's something really basic that you'd like to start doing?
I think I would like to start documenting my time a little bit into those things, the activity that we've done before where the stop doing list, the start doing list, that kind of thing. I think that would be worthwhile for me because I'm not saying I'm old, but as you get older, you just appreciate the stuff you enjoy a lot more and find no patience for the stuff that you don't.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you don't create that ideal list of things unless you are deliberate.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just end up being frustrated with how you spent your time.
Yeah, and I'm too nice of a guy to just let it happen.
You mean you have to be deliberate?
Yeah, I'll just take
stuff
I'll just start taking things that on my plate that I don't like accidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not like, nope, this is my list. Yeah. I know that about myself.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. All right, go Birds. Hopefully by the time we record the next one, the game will be done.
Yep, 1 week, a little less.
Okay.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
All right. Have a good week.